here. This was a quick personnel meeting, so it caught me by surprise that we're actually ahead of schedule. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting, and the first order of business is to approve last month's committee meeting minutes. Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we do have privilege of the floor, but as I said at the last meeting, we will also extend it to the end as well. So if anybody has any pertinent issues to bring up right now, or they have to leave, you can address the committee. Obviously, Mr. McDivitt does. Travis, go ahead.
Can I bring up the issue that I wanted to talk about, the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board?
It's actually on our agenda, Travis.
Okay, it is?
So, yep, it's under,
Wait.
yep, it's under item 2. It'll be coming right up. Okay? All right, anyone else? No? Okay, so moving on with the agenda, we have request for a transfer of funds as attached for the committee approval, and that's item 1. All in there and all ready for approval. Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 2, requests from the clerk of the board. This actually, I had a phone call from Terry Como, and as you recall, a few months ago, he did approach the board with some increases that they were going back and forth with Albany. This one is in regards to Resolution 374, and it reflects an increase of fee schedule provided by Albany Medical Center for morgue and laboratory services. It did go up another $48, so the cost right now is $880. It is going to $928, and at one point he told me that it was supposed to be $1,000, but they were being very generous and put it down to $928. So we do need to amend that resolution. Motion made by Supervisor Merlino, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 2. This item was tabled at the board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and it is Resolution 93, and this is authorizing payment to the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board. So, because it was tabled, it did not have to be brought back here, but I felt it was something that we should discuss. And I did have a conversation with Walter Young, who is here with Beth, representing the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board. So, it is a payment for $7,000, as you can see in your packet, and it was tabled at the board meeting, so I figured there needed to be further explanation on this. So at this point, I guess, Travis, we'll have you go first.
I put together a list of questions that I have about this. Actually, this list of questions is just that, a list of questions, and my concerns are with the oversight that this board provides or does not provide. Not anything in particular, but I did get some material over the last month when I've been asking for it, over the last 6 weeks or so, and it's been dribbling in. And I have some comments on that, and I'd like to, just briefly go through this. I gave you a 3-page, what I'm going to be reading from, so I don't have to read nearly as much. But in general, it does seem clear that the board was authorized under GML 239, and reading from that law, establishment of regional planning council, right on the top. Any municipal legislative body may collaborate with the legislative body of a contiguous municipal legislative body to create a regional planning board under this article. Among things that needs to be done is to pay attention to GML 103 and 104, which relates to purchasing and bidding, etc. there's a requirement for an annual audit report. Every regional planning council shall submit an annual report to the collaborating legislative bodies and to the Department of Audit and Control, which shall include a summary of council activities. Every regional planning council shall engage a certified public accountant to complete an annual financial audit and audit of the internal control structure of the regional planning council, a copy of which is included in the report. So, and then item 6 in that law, voting requirements, every motion or resolution of a regional planning council shall require for its adoption the affirmative vote of a majority of all of the members of the regional planning council. So one of the things that came up when I looked into this is that one of the board members here mentioned that while this was the 3rd year he was appointed to the board, he had yet to go to any meetings. And so he took it upon himself just to let the board know that he was a member. I don't know of anybody actually that has attended a board meeting. I don't know that minutes are or are not kept. I can go to the website. I find nothing on the website in regards to that.
Can I just respond to that one?
Yes.
Real quick. 2016, Supervisor Wood used to make I believe she made all the meetings as our rep from the board. And minutes were sent out. I believe that to be fact. Am I wrong? Well,
Copies of the minutes are sent out as well as the resolution.
And Supervisor Wood did attend. Yeah. So I just, yeah.
How many meetings were in 2016? How many were? I'd say if you have any questions, put them in writing and I'll respond. You can't answer that now, sir? Well, I can, yes. Okay, well then just answer it. Two? Yeah. Okay, that's all I was asking.
So, at any rate, we, according to the law, that every resolution shall require for its adoption the affirmative vote of a majority of all the members of the Regional Planning Council. So that's sort of like when you go into executive session. It doesn't matter, it's not the majority of who showed up, you need to have more than the total. So if all of a sudden we send one person out of 3, you're probably not going to have the ability to even pass something if everyone else sent 1 out of 3. But I would like to see those minutes and see who attended. And I have asked Mr. Young for information. I foiled some information about a month ago, and I got, like a 1-page thing with something circled on it, which I didn't think it was very responsive, but perhaps I can get some additional information from him now. So the other thing is there are audits that have shown up here. The audits done by Snow, Eicher, Farrar of Glens Falls are interesting from the standpoint of looking at the disclaimer that they put 5 times in each of those reports. Every time they come up with another batch of numbers, they have this disclaimer. The disclaimer basically says that, first of all, they're not independent with respect to Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board. And secondly, they have all kinds of disclaimers saying that basically they're only relating the numbers that came from the board. They haven't looked into how they came. You can read the whole thing, it's on page 3. I won't go through that. But then there was an additional audit that came in that I got recently from Marvin and Company of Queensbury, New York, and that had some more in it. And I'd like to read a few of those things there that just causes more question. First of all, they do point out that it's under 230 GML 239 that this exists. But it also says that procedures selected depend on the auditor's judgment, including assessments of the risks, materials, accordingly, we express no such opinion. So they're saying because they didn't get certain things, they can't go ahead and talk about an opinion in particular on the control elements, internal control, which is one of the things that's pointed out in the law that says is required. In that audit, they also noted that there's a revolving loan fund, actually a couple of them, and that those loan funds showed losses of $488,000 and $532,000 respectively for 2015 and 2016, and that the total of those loans amounted to something a little bit less than $3 million, and over $1 million of that was technically in default, were non-performing. So that would raise some questions to me if I were on the board, and you know, again, there's nobody else. What started this is I talked to the authority's budget office and said, you know, do you look at these people like you look at the EDC, the IDA, the LDC, all these other organizations? And they said, no, it's up to you guys. So I'm just saying, I read this and I have questions. I hope you would too. Another question that comes up is the employee benefits. This is right out of the audit put out by Marvin. It says the planning board participates in the New York State Employees Retirement System through the County of Warren. In general, the county provides health insurance coverage for retired employees and their survivors. Substantially all the county's employees, as well as those of the Regional Planning Board, may become eligible for this benefit if they retire with 10 years of active service with the county. I've asked Mr. Swan, I'm not going to say very much because he's here and he can speak for himself, but I've asked him whether or not he considers these people employees or not. I think he said, I really don't know the answer to that question. But, you know, it's a good question to ask because we've had the sheriff come through here and say, I've got a disability problem. Now this guy's going to be, you know, carrying disability for forever because he's one of our employees. You know, things like this could happen. It says obligations of the planner established, this is again coming from the audit, by the action of the county pursuant to applicable collective bargaining employment agreements. This requires premium contribution rates of retirees that range from 0 to 20% depending on when they were hired. So what they're saying is while the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board does pay the deduction, that's only maybe anywhere from 0 to 20% of the actual cost to the county that has to pay into for the health and for retirement costs. And interesting to note that Warren County is only one of 5 counties. I mean, we have Washington, Essex, Clinton, and Hamilton as partners in this as well, yet it seems that they're Warren County employees, according to the audit. I think I'm not going to get into any more detail. I gave you this in writing. I'd be happy to discuss this more with Mr. Young, and I probably will do so. However, I believe it's your body that should be discussing this rather than myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Travis. Yeah, Mike, we have a question on the employees. Can you address that, or?
Yeah, I have a question on that too. I don't know whether they are considered county employees or not. We're treating them
Like they're county
they
employees?
are with how we're taking care of the benefit packages. But I think that this is a question, Mary, I hate to throw the ball in your court, but I think this is something that we do need to have a definite answer on. The other thing is that, you know, we've been doing this for a long time, taking care of their benefits and the payroll and everything else. I can't, and I'll ask Mr. Young, I haven't been able to find where we actually had an agreement to do this.
Yeah, we'll have Mary speak to that.
We researched it, found it.
Found it, okay, great.
Please.
Resolution 379 of 1977 resolved that the employees of the Lake Champlain, Lake George Regional Planning Board are deemed to be employees of the County of Warren for the purposes of withholding, Social Security, retirement, medical insurance, workers' compensation, and unemployment. And it authorized the county treasurer to be they were to do the payroll and all those things that were authorized. And this also authorized the chairman to sign the agreement January 1st of 1978. We have the agreement.
What was that resolution number?
379 of 1977, and then I can send you the agreement as well if you need that.
That answers all my questions.
Well-
Is there a question in regards to this?
No, that's clear as mud to me.
Okay.
Well, sorry.
Well, I guess my concern would be, why did we get such an honor? Why isn't the other 4 counties participating or taking the lead on this? And I don't see why we should incur costs and the other 4 counties not incur costs.
Well-
To me, that, just because that resolution was passed in 77, I'm probably going to see if we can have that changed to another county.
Well, and we can, but it is a resolution. you know.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
say it wasn't a resolution, no one knew it
Yeah.
until, obviously, it was just research.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. I guess my concern at this point is, are they going to any of the other collaborating counties and giving reports or providing them audits? Because this is the first time I've seen these individuals. And if they're county employees, they should be coming here like, every other director, department head, and giving us reports. A lot of money goes through that organization.
Well, right, and it's never been an issue, and it's been viewed something similar to the EDC. The EDC also...
He comes here.
Right, right.
Every month.
But they are part of economic development. But they also have outstanding debts as well. They're not flawed. Chairman Garrity?
Well, my question is, if you read that, in 77, it says they're employees for withholdings, correct?
Yes.
And that means that we're supposed to be withholding. And my question to the treasurer is, did you ever, I'm sure back in 1977, there may not have been any contributions to the retirement system or any contributions. Things changed. Has the treasurer's office kept up with the changes, even for the retirement system? I was out of high school in 1977, but barely. That's a lie too. But anyways, what I'm saying is, has the treasurer's office kept up with the changes in the retirement system as far as withholdings? I know you have with health insurance, but, way back when, people didn't contribute to the retirement system, and it's changed over time.
We have applied the same rules to them as far as retirement withholding.
So you bill them for the cost of their employees, whatever tier they're in?
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm all right with that then. Okay. Seems to me back, all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed in 1978. Let's just carry on. And I got to stick up for, I do know they send out minutes. I didn't attend the meetings, so just didn't have time, but they do send out minutes, and, I'm sure Walter can provide those to anybody who wants them. But the minutes were sent out, the history of the loans was always sent out, and I would assume, I shouldn't assume, but I thought that maybe the county got copies of all that information too. But I know the members who served on that board did get the information, but the cost, and it's never been an issue before until this year. I can remember.
I'm on that board, and I have all the information sent to me previous to the meeting.
You're not
I had all the information. What's that?
Are you on the
I'm
board?
on the Lake Erie board. Not,
You are?
maybe not.
No, you are.
I was appointed to,
Not the regional planning board, is that the water quality?
You and I are both
You're now on the board according to this.
we're on that. What's that? We were put on.
We were put on, we got a little...
No, we signed it. I think your resolution is wrong because I've gone to your meeting.
So we don't even know who's on the board?
I think Travis is right, questioning the membership makeup.
Well, at any rate, at this point, what I would like to do is, if it's okay with either Walter or Beth, could you please come to the podium, let us know kind of what you do, give the committee a background, and address some of these questions maybe that Travis posed, and
It's an updated sheet on what we do, services we provide. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for inviting me here today. I'm kind of surprised and a little embarrassed that what I thought was kind of a routine annual budget request has turned into something like this. For whatever reason, we're audited every year since 1967. We've had an independent audit completed at the Regional Planning Board. This year's audit was done by Marvin and Company, and I'm quoting from the back page: there were no findings, no material weaknesses were disclosed during the audit of financial statements, no instances of non-compliance material to the financial statements of the Regional Planning Board were found, no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses found, there were no audit findings. So I remember seeing some information passed around a couple of weeks ago, first of all stating that we were not a legal entity, and second stating that we had never had an audit done of our organization, so we had. Also, annual financial reports are filed with the state controllers on a yearly basis. And we've been operating since, like I said, 1967, created just prior to the establishment of the APA to do community work for land use planning and zoning. And once that work was completed, we expanded our programs to get more involved in community development, economic development, water quality projects. And we're also the host agency for the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council, as well as operate a fairly sizable revolving loan fund for small business financing. With that, any questions?
Yes, committee with
I
Supervisor
have a
Dickinson.
question, Mrs. Surley. Matt, I apologize for being tardy, but Town of Lake George uses planning board help a lot. We've done a lot of projects over the years. They're all environmental projects. Some of them are very complicated, some of them are very, very simple. They've been a real asset to us. And I have to tell you, I was really surprised when we didn't pass this resolution. Totally taken off guard. They're available. They've got a lot of good personnel, and they do really great things. And it's money well invested.
Supervisor Bramlett?
Thank you. Mr. Young, are you a full-time employee there?
Yes.
Would it be possible for you to attend monthly committee meetings?
Sure. Of what, the Finance Committee?
No, I'm suggesting economic growth and development.
EDC.
Where our planning
Okay, yeah.
department is housed.
Sure.
That would be great. I mean, I'd love to hear about all the stuff that you're doing in Lake George or where, around the lakes.
Supervisor Beatty?
Yeah. Thanks for coming, by the way, Mr. Young. I appreciate that. I guess some of my questions are, okay, a yearly audit is required and to be sent to the collaborating legislative body. So the 5 counties, so you send a yearly audit to all 5 counties. So Mary's or Mr. Swan has all those audits?
Yes.
Yeah, 15 and 16, yes, I haven't made it to the back.
Well, I thought you said that you send them every year.
I did.
17s aren't ready yet, I would assume. So,
What's that?
I said your 2017.
No, it's not.
Oh,
17 's not.
Okay,
No.
so past years, you got every year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And would you be opposed if some, the employees, you guys, if we moved that to another county? How would you feel about that?
I wasn't around when this whole organization got started, so I don't know what the deal was at the time. I think it goes back to when John Wertheim was treasurer. But each of the counties contribute an annual allotment to our operations.
I was just
And
wondering.
I guess the thing that surprises me also is, I don't think $7,000 is a lot of money to request for the amount of work that we do, and we haven't asked for an increase in our budget since like 1980, 1981. My point is, you guys should be happy with that.
Yeah, no, it's not the money. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
$7,000 it's not the money. It's in this environment today where we're seeing things like Mr. Decker and fraud and things like this, where the lack of oversight and the lack of accountability in some towns, maybe in some counties, has created an environment that
we just don't know enough. I don't think many people on this board even knew about the Lake George, Lake Champlain board. We don't even know who's on it. We just had a discussion, and Simpson thinks he's on it, Mr. Simpson, and you're saying he's not. I mean, to me, that's a little disconcerting. I mean, I just want to know. I think you probably do a great job. This isn't nothing against you. This is just, I want to know how this whole thing works, because I don't want another Dave Decker piece of, coming down the pike to us. And so, I hope you don't take offense to us wanting to know more answers. And it will probably be super. And I'm glad that you're sending an audit every year. And so it's not the money. It's just that I want to know more about these boards that I never knew. I didn't know Warren County basically oversees you. I didn't know Hamilton County, Essex County, Washington County. I didn't know they all oversee you. They have the authority over you. I didn't know that.
But oversight and governance is also provided by all the state and federal grantor agencies that we do deal with.
I understand.
We do semi-annual financial reports, semi-annual progress reports to the Commerce Department, to the Department of State, to DEC, to the Department of Agriculture. Whoever sends grant money through our office, we're responsible to them for satisfying their inquiries into our financial reports.
Right, and we...
It's not just the county.
Yeah, but we are, though, part of that whole
Yes,
process.
yes.
And so that's basically news to me. I probably would submit that it's probably news to more than half the board. So that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out so that we don't get a surprise down the road, and I appreciate, again, you coming in here to take the time. And I'm part of that EDC committee. I would love to have you come in monthly and say, Doug, this is what's going on, this is what we're doing. The comfort level probably would go up immensely if those things happen. Okay, thanks.
Are you suggesting every month, or
Yeah.
Supervisor Bramer, every month?
Yeah, just like Ed Bartholomew and EDC's here every month, just give us an update.
Treasurer Swan?
Yeah, just to comment on Mr. Whitehead's comments about the audits. Those are typical audits. In other words, the verbiage that's in those is normal, but it's in our independent audit that we have every year. So I don't want anybody to think that...
It's boilerplate information.
Boilerplate information.
Always there.
I don't want anybody to think that their audit is different than other normal audits. It's the same type of audit, and it's basically a disclaimer that says, which they do in our audit too, they say, based on the information we have received, this is where you're at.
I just want to respond to that, because I would like to be clear. I think what Travis saw is not an audit. He got something from Snow Iker. What he said was a different company.
Snow Iker does
That
not
sounds
do
like
our
an
audit.
What Travis had in his hands was not an audit. So I think Travis was correct, but he didn't have in his hands a proper thing.
Right, but what I'm saying is that the audits that we receive, that we look at, those are typical audits with the boilerplate stuff in them. It's a disclaimer for that all CPA firms put in their audits. I don't want to...
Supervisor Molina?
I just got one question. I know a little bit about your organization, not much, but a little bit. Can you give us, don't have to give the exact amount, can you tell this group about how much money these people have gotten in grants over the last 30 years? Just a rough idea. Don't have to be an exact thing, because that's important for all the people to know.
Well, I can answer that.
It's a lot. I mean, do you have that paper? No, you don't have it? I saw a
Just
paper.
looking at this audit.
That gives the amount of money that you give out.
Are you talking about loans that we've made?
No, your grants, because that's where most of your money comes from. You give out to all these towns and these businesses that ask for help. Just roughly, don't have to be a penny.
Do roughly $300,000 a year.
Okay, no, that's
in that neighborhood.
okay, so we're supporting them for $7,000. They get $300,000 money a year from different organizations of the state, counties, and everything to give out to business people. So that's all I got.
Supervisor Dickinson?
50 years. You've been here 50 years, Doug. It's not your problem. You don't know.
Well, we don't even know who the hell's on the board, Dennis.
Well,
We're an oversight body. They report technically to us. So, yeah, you should be concerned, Mr. Dickinson.
I'm not concerned.
just that we need information, that's
We waste
all.
more time being concerned about things you don't.
Yeah, that's your opinion, Mr. Dickinson.
It is my opinion.
It's meaningless.
You're meaningless.
Supervisor Bramer, really quick, and then I'm going to go to
Okay, I
Garrity,
guess-
and then let's
what do
try
the
to get
other
this wrapped
counties
up.
give? What do the other counties give towards your operating budget?
The
Think
highest,
about- okay.
highest, roughly, yeah. The highest is like 9,000. You folks are 7, around 3,500 from Washington County, 1,700 from Hamilton, and 6,000 from Essex. It's about $21,000 total, which we need to match, provide a cash match
Yeah.
to our annual planning grant program that we get from the U.S. Commerce Department.
Acting Administrator Garrity.
I just have two comments. First, they're located in Warren County. Their offices are located in Warren County. That perhaps is why Warren County took them on as, made them employees for contributions. Number two is, I've asked Mary, we can't, if we decide that we no longer want to count them as employees of Warren County, we have to get sign-offs from everybody has to agree. The other 4 counties would have to agree with us if we wanted to do away with keep them as our employees.
Okay. We exhausted this enough, yep. All right, go ahead.
I just have one other point, and I don't know why they asked this, but they are located in Warren County. They're located in Lake George. They're in Lake George Village. They rent office space from the town of Lake George in the old courthouse. And they're very convenient for us down here. I don't know why you'd want to move them someplace else. That's what they're doing that. I deal with them all the time. All the time.
Okay, so it was tabled at the board meeting. Would anybody like to bring this back to the floor? Supervisor Merlino?
I'd just like to make a motion, let's get this done today. Let's go the route we're going, with the caveat that we'll attend some of our monthly meetings, quarterly, but monthly, see that's what they want, and make sure that even that board that you're going to meet with gets the audit control, and that'll solve a lot of problems. Okay, because there are, and I'm not picking on any supervisor, but a lot of supervisors have been sitting on this board for years, some 3 years, some 4 years, some 10 years, and we've been voting on this constantly every year. So, a lot of us probably should have looked into more of where we were spending money. I think you got the idea now. I think we all got the idea now. And I think it's a good organization. I talked to somebody that's in your organization yesterday at Lent, and I understand more now than I did. So I'll make that motion. Give them the 7,000, and with the caveat that they'll get involved with us a little bit more, so we know and solve, questions could be answered and questions could be answered.
Seconded by Supervisor Dickinson, and I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to item 3, we have a request from the Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee under Sheriff. It's to amend the county budget, the amount of $1,691.60.
I'll move it.
Okay, motion made by Supervisor Garrity to move item A, seconded by Supervisor Bramer.
Can we amend that to do A and B?
Supervisor Garrity?
What's that? A
and B?
I can't hear you. Yes, A and B. Yes, I agree with her.
I wonder why you've been messing
Get
up.
that in.
How about that?
So we have a motion made by Supervisor Garrity to move A and B, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 4, request from the Economic Growth Development Committee. Under Planning, we have a request to amend H372, which is the First Wilderness 2016, to reflect adjustments for matching funds and in-kind services. Motion made by Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by Supervisor Stroh. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 4B, to record a portion of the $150,000 2015 county contribution to the Lake George Park Commission, expended in the general fund as local match and state reimbursable expenditures in the capital project H347, invasive species boat washing. And this was agreed by New York State Department of State and Warren County. made by Supervisor Dickinson, seconded by Supervisor Bramer. Question, Supervisor Bramer?
Yeah, thanks. This is different than the one that we did the other day about the $100,000 contribution? Maybe Mike can answer that.
I have no idea.
Peter, was this done in your committee?
It was, and I can't recall.
I didn't make that, so I don't know.
I think it was a change, Supervisor Bramer. I don't
remember. it
I don't think
being-
it's on top.
It's from
I don't think it's on top.
150,000 from 2050.
Yeah, but I think it was in the books as something else in 2015. It was 100,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
I think so. So I think it's in addition, or a change, rather. We can get clarity from Chris or
Or just
Wayne.
typo or something.
Do you want
I don't know.
somebody to call them?
I thought it was, my memory serves me correct, I thought...
Let me go call Wayne to check and make sure. This was discussed in committee,
I
Peter?
don't think this was. That's my concern.
Okay, I'll find out real quick.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think it's
go
something
ahead.
to deal with the treasurer's office though.
These different
Hold
forms
on.
came to committee, and then after that, Wayne sent us in 4 different forms based on what he
Right.
got from the treasurer's office.
So this was the change.
So,
It's not an addition.
What did we do in committee?
What's on the agenda is what the treasurer's office advised had to be done
After committee.
after committee.
After committee.
Whatever Wayne had on the form originally was not correct. Apparently, there's some other gyration that has to go on to get where we need to be.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Okay, good.
you still want me to call him, or are you all right?
I think it's all right.
I think it's okay, yeah.
Okay.
We can find out. We can find out. We do have a motion in a second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, when I was reviewing this, it looks like C, D, and E are kind of looped together. It's establishing a capital project while we're decreasing one, but taking those funds to put back into this project, so.
You said it this way. Originally came with a transfer of funds, and now it can't be a transfer, it's a change between capital projects, so that's why that's two rounds.
Okay, so we could still move them all as one, though?
Yeah,
C, D,
just
and E.
explain,
Yeah.
those did not.
Would anybody like to make a motion to move C, D, and E?
I will.
Supervisor Dickinson, second by Supervisor Garrity. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. F, request to amend capital project H347, the invasive species management and control, to correct the funding sources listed in Resolution 98, 2018. Okay, I'm sorry. Motion made by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Dickinson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Referrals from Health, Human, and Social Services Committee under Mental Health. We have a request to amend the county budget in the amount of $443,768 to reflect the receipt of grant funding designated for development of Assertive, or ACT, team to provide community-based treatment.
I'll make that a motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. B, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $87,074 to allow for pass-through of 100% state aid to include New York State minimum wage enhancement, New York State 3.25% workforce COLA, and New York State OHM support housing funds. It's a mouthful. Motion made by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Garrity. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Referral from the Occupancy Tax Coordination Committee. Request to appropriate $83,205 from Budget Code A881, which is the Reserve Occupancy Tax, in 2018, and $83,205 in 2019 to the Lake George Chamber of Commerce and CVB to provide funding for ADA Elevate 2019. Motion made by Supervisor Strauss, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Discussion? Treasurer Swan.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't at the meeting, the whole meeting the other day, but I have some concerns about the local match, which is 20%. I know that they said that they have the money, but I've heard that before. Some years later, we find out that we've got to come up with the money. that match. I'd like to make sure that this is all included in the grant contract, that this is all spelled out. I'm also concerned about the language that I saw real quickly this morning, that there really doesn't seem, I'm not sure where that $166,000 came from. So I guess I just want to make sure that we don't get into, as you quoted, Supervisor Beatty, the Becker situation again. I just want to make sure we got all our T's crossed and all our I's dotted before we
Supervisor Dickinson.
That's the amount of grants that we have. We, as typical grant, somebody has to front the money.
Right. Well, I understand
They
that part.
Wait for the return.
But I want to make sure that we're not on the hook for that 20%. And also, we can't just, as a private entity, so Warren County's going to have to be, in my opinion, a party to the grant also.
That was part of what we did yesterday.
Okay.
That's what we are.
Okay.
We partnership with them.
Okay.
They have, the match is $40,000. They have $21,000 already committed. So.
But I mean, and I'm not trying to say that they won't. I'm just saying I want it, it's part of the contract. I want it written out so that, 2 years down the road, when some of us don't remember what was said here in the county,
I'll forget for that.
Yeah. We've been burned a couple times in the past, so I'm kind of gun shy on this. We just want to make sure we got it all spelled out.
Yes, Supervisor Miller.
If you read the minutes of that tax meeting, I specified your comment before you left.
Okay.
That we have to make sure everything is set, they get the paperwork done, so we don't run into the problem.
Okay.
But if you read, if it's in the minutes, that's what we said,
Okay.
will satisfy you, because you had to leave, and I had spoke to you before the meeting.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, moving on to 7, referrals from the Public Works Committee. Under DPW, we have a request to close the following capital projects and return remaining funds, return to the funding sources. I don't think you want to hear me list all
I'll make a
these.
motion that
Yeah.
we do the transfer. of
Motion
capital
made by
funds.
Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Request to increase, request to increase capital project H322, the Palisades Road, County Route 26 over Brant Lake Inlet Bridge replacement in the amount of $69,065. Who would like to make that resolution? Motion made by Supervisor McDevitt, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. That's what I wanted to say. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. C, request to amend the county budget in the amount of $168.98 to reflect the receipt of insurance recovery funds for...
Make that motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Garrity. I'm going to let Supervisor Hyde second that one.
Yeah.
Sounds like she wants to get in the action
Follow
here. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Kevin, at this point, would you like to address the committee?
I can. You want me to, Matt?
Sure.
At the Public Works Committee on Tuesday, we discussed awarding a contract to a contractor for the paving of these road projects for this year. Usually past couple of years, we've done them in-house, and then we've offset that with contractors doing some of the work as well. At the meeting the other day, we had requested 5 projects, or I recommended 5 projects for contractors to do the work. And from that committee, there was, and I'll make it only a few, but there was sort of an approval of, yes, we would go with funding those 5 projects.
I don't know when we can do it.
I just, I gave it to Matt, we would have to...
We will. He's
but,
gonna come.
I don't know where that money would be coming from, when I just...
Supervisor Simpson.
The budget officer, Mr. Thomas, had also spoke about that, and I think we we thought we could swing it out of the
General fund.
out of some unassigned.
Out of the fund balance. During the budget process, we closed a considerable number of capital projects from previous years, and at that time I removed $200,000 from the account with the anticipation that the capital projects money would replace that. However, my anticipation that the effective price projects for bridges, and we funded capital projects at the airport. And, so that left $200,000 short, in paving. Recommendation, about $280,000 from fund balance for the contracts, like contracts.
Would you like to make that motion, Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. Any other discussion? Yes,
Just
Supervisor.
one quick question, if I can, have just a general overall question relative to paving, private contractor versus county. Are you happy with the results? Is this the direction we're going to go in the future?
I think so. We've had great projects from both. I mean, our county crew last year did an amazing job of paving. And contractors, that's their job to do that. And if we don't like what they do, we bring them back. I do think this is possibly the route to take. I know there's been a discussion in the past as far as removing our paving crew. What we said, I had a discussion with Jeff, even removing the paving crew, we wouldn't necessarily, if they were layoff people, there's a ton of work for our administrators. If we're doing paving work, but I believe another way to look at this is we bid these projects out individually. I think we would get a better price if we started grouping these projects in certain areas. When a contractor came in, we could say, okay, let's do everything in the north part of the county or the south part of the county. I think we would get some, based on economies of scale, some better bids, but I think this is a good way to go.
I said this in the meeting the other day, and I'll repeat it here. This was an effort by Warren County to be able to compare what we were doing paving with what contractors were doing. And I think Kevin's point's well taken. At the end of this year, we should be able to look at it and say, hey, this is working out really well. We're getting more roads paved. We're getting good work out of it. And, I think that's really what it's about.
Supervisor Simpson?
And we'll still always have paving projects because of the size of them. Culverts, road cuts that we gotta do that just aren't gonna make sense to without that.
Supervisor Bramer?
I'm just not clear on what it is the resolution is, the 280,000 out of fund balance, those are for specific
Yes.
ones?
I
The
can
ones
list
here
it.
in the,
There-
oh.
Yes.
List the 5 if you don't mind.
Are they in our packet? I'm sorry.
No.
No. Okay.
No,
Go ahead, I'm ready.
There's 15 East Shore Drive, 10 Schooner River Road, 64 East Schooner River Road, 37 South Johnsburg Road, 3 Warrensburg Road. County road numbers. Those are county road numbers.
5 projects.
And we're doing that to get those projects into the works for this
Those
summer?
are
What-
additional projects.
Additional
above, right?
They're-
Or just 5 that you put out?
These are the 5 that I recommended based on certain reasons. The East Shore and the East Room, because they're very close together. The contractor could go right from one project right on to the next one. The other 3 are based on traffic, and a contractor they would expedite getting in there, getting it done and getting out. It's just there's a lot of traffic and speed on those other 3 roads that we recommended. These are not new projects. These were projects that we put in the budget last year. These projects are only, when we do the budget for each one of these projects for the estimates, they're only based on materials and contracts because we have regular salaries already in the budget. So this now is, the contractors can do this work for this amount of money. If you actually look at just taking our salaries and moving it into those projects where we depend material and contract, they actually are about the same cost between county and contract.
So, we didn't do them last year, does that mean we have any money left over from last year, or is that what Frank was talking about?
No, it's what I was talking about was, past, one of them was the Main Street project here in Wingsbury.
Yeah, that was just, that was a closeout of a lot of projects at the end of last year. Kermit Road being one, Alder Brook Bridge was one that was done back in 2007. That money, that went back to debt services, that was part of the bond. I think Harrington Road Bridge was the same way.
We closed those projects out, but they didn't come back into the road fund. They actually went to debt services or back to the general fund.
The last point, Claudia, to your question is, they have a list of roads that need to be repaired. And over the years, what we weren't getting to was getting more and more, and people were complaining more and more. And at a certain point, if you don't repair them, minor repairs and paving, at a certain point, they're going to major construction. So that's really what this is about, trying to catch up.
Kevin?
And I'll lead on to that, Claudia.
Yeah.
When I came here in 2008, they were probably doing about 20 to 25,000 a year. Probably in 2009, when things changed in the budget in the county, we went down to 10 miles a road a year. And for us to keep up, we looked at this a couple different ways. For us to keep up with the roads and making sure that we're staying on top of them, we have to do a minimum of almost 200 miles. We have 250 miles of road. That's a sort of a redo of the road every 10 years, and that's what they should be doing.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve $280,000 for 5 extra projects. You want to know where it's coming from, or you want to go ahead?
The number I'm looking at is 179,988.40, so 271.
What do you want? How much you want? 271? Okay, we can adjust that, budget officer. Okay, so we have a motion and a second for 271. Is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
All right, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Kev. Item 8, request items to be discussed by county administrator. Basic transfers approved.
Transfer are within department codes. They're all code to code within departments. They're fine.
Okay.
And then,
Yep.
and then the next one, you have five departments getting vehicles. Or 4 departments getting vehicles. Weights and measures, health services, countryside, and veteran services. That's included in that amount of money.
Okay. Motion to get this on the floor, made by Supervisor Frazier, second by Supervisor Simpson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then, finally, Finance Committee action is required on the following items approved by Personnel Higher Education. They are 4A, B, and 5A through C, and we also have to include the special counsel that was approved in yesterday's meeting.
I'll make that a motion.
Made by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Please don't pack up, because we get to go in executive session.
I would like to make a comment on the last one. I mean, I know everyone was here for my comments about personnel, about the first assistant and second assistant county attorney. Again, I'm still opposed to that. I don't think that we should be hiring on a second person. We've been looking for places to save money. Here's a position that's not filled. We can continue not filling it and save $60,000 instead of laying people off. And these really aren't supposed to be entry-level jobs. She's hiring someone who's coming out of law school. They're not even going to have been admitted till next year in January. And we're paying them $48,000. I'm not.
Appreciate your
I know Mary needs the support, but she still hasn't had her first assistant full time there at all in months. I think that once that person gets on board, that'll be a big help to her.
We do need to go into an executive session for 2 items. One is to hopefully have a settlement for pending litigation, and the other one is to discuss the employment of a particular individual. Submitted by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. All in favor?
Aye.
We're in executive. Who do you want to stay?
I know, I got run.
We all good? Okay, we're back on. No action was taken in executive, but do I have a motion from the floor? Motion made by Supervisor Dickinson.
Make a motion, we accept the proposed settlement and the Gillette case.
Okay. Motion seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
We'd just
Any
like to
privilege
say-
of the floor? Anybody like to make any comments? Motion to adjourn. Motion made by Supervisor Dickinson, second by Supervisor Frazier. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
What do you want to do?
Yeah,